so this is lesson 4.7 and our learning goal. It's kind of crazy looking, so I want to kind of explain this to you guys. So if you have this is like naming a function. So instead of me every time I want to refer to the function 15x plus 4, I can go ahead and say, hey, I want you to look at what's called f of x. And so it said like this, f of x is how you pronounce it. So I could say, okay, everybody look at f of x, or p of x, or g of x. And so it's just a way of naming the function, but it really still means the same thing. So you're still going to see this. That's what it means. There's no different here. So when this is saying evaluate the function, when x is -3, 0, and 2, they want you to plug these numbers in for x right here. Okay? So what I would do if this were me is I would create a little table here, and your domain is -3, 0, and 2, and you're going to go ahead and have 3 answers for this one. So I'm going to take -3 and plug it in for 15. So I'm going to take 15 times -3. So I can do 15 times -3. So I'm just plugging it in there for x. And then I'm going to add 4. So -45 plus 4 is -41. Okay, so I'm going to have -41. Obviously, if I plug in 0, 15 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4 would be 4. And if I take 2 times 15, that's 30, plus 4 would be 34. Okay, and so now I've just evaluated that function, and those are my 3 answers, -41, 4, and 34. Okay, all right, let's look at another one, because I know how much you guys love fractions. All right, so number 9. So we would say that this is h of x. It would mean the exact same thing as if I wrote y equals 3/8 x minus 6. And then again, I'm plugging in that same domain because that's what they told me to do up here. So the same numbers for my domain. And I think it's easy just to make a little table. Doesn't mean you have to. I just think it's a nice way to organize your work. All right. So let's start with the 0, because 0 is always really easy. So if I have 3/8 times 0, that's 0. And then minus 6. So 0 minus 6 would be -6. All right, and then let's get to the ones that are a little bit harder and talk about how we can do those. So if I'm going to plug in -3, I'm going to come out here to the side. I have 3/8 times -3 over 1. So 3 times -3 is -9/8 minus 6. Okay, so a couple different ways that you can do this. You can go ahead and get common denominators if you want, which would be fairly simple here because the common denominator would be 8. And so that would make this one, if I could have -9/8 minus, if I want this to be an 8, I just have to multiply the 6 by 8, and so I get 48. So that's a pretty easy way to do it. They're both negative, so I need to add them together. So 48 plus 9 would be -57 over 8. And that is okay to leave that as -57 over 8. Okay? If you don't like doing it that way, you could change this into a mixed number and say, okay, well that would be the same thing as -1 and 1/8 minus 6. So if I have a -1 and 1/8 and I take away 6, then basically I'm adding those two together because they're both negatives, so it gives me -7 and 1/8. Which is the exact same thing as -57 over 8. So either one of those answers would be fine. We're just not going to change them to decimals. That's the only thing we're not going to do. All right, and then now I need to plug in the 2. So I'm going to take 3/8 times 2 minus 6. So 3 times 2 is 6 over 8 minus 6. I would go ahead and reduce 6/8 and to give me 3/4. So now I have 3/4 minus 6, and I would just use some common sense here. If I have 3/4 and I take away 6, okay, I'm really subtracting that. So that would be a -5, and 1/4 would be left. Okay, if you don't like that method, again, you could go ahead and change them to common denominators if you wanted. So if I want this to be a 4, 6 times 4 is 24. And so now I have 24 that's negative, so 3 minus 24 would be a -21 over 4, which would be the same thing. So negative 5 1/4 or negative 21/4 is the exact same. Okay? All right, moving on to number 13. Number 13 is different because here it's changing the directions to find the value of x. So now I don't know what x is. Up here, they told me what x is, okay? So that the function has the given value. So this right here, even though they've written it kind of funky, is the value that they're giving you. And what this means is they want you to figure out what this is. So that's what we don't know. So this 18 is going to go over here as the y, so that we can find the value of the whole function. This is the function value over here because all of this equals 18. So this would be 18 equals 4x minus 2, and then I just need to solve it like a regular equation. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 to both sides. And I have 20 equals 4x, divide both sides by 4, and x equals 5. Okay, so that is the value of x because I'm finding x now, where before they told me x. Okay, all right, let's look at one more, which is number 21. Okay, so here again, they're telling me this one just happens to be 18 again, but it's whatever the number is behind the semicolon is that the value of the function. I'm going to be plugging this in for p of x. So I have 18 equals negative 2.4x plus 6. So I'm going to solve this like a basic two-step equation where I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. So I get 12 equals negative 2.4x, and I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2.4. Now, because this is in decimal, I'll let you use decimal. So you can go ahead and take 12 divided by negative 2.4. So I'll bring out my calculator and I have 12 divided by 2.4, which is going to be a negative 5 because there was one negative in the problem. So this means that x equals negative 5 on this one. Okay? All right, that is all I need you guys to understand today about the learning goal. The student will understand function form, and we will do a little bit more of that later.